Hello and welcome to our second lesson on spreadsheet functions. In this lesson, we're going to look at the if statement, some relational operators, conditional formatting, as well as some error indicators. Right, so let's fire away. Firstly, we're going to look at the if statement. On the current sheet that I have open here, we've got some people who sold some units again, let's say cell phones maybe that they sold, and I want to know how many of them, or I want to know whether or not they sold more than 25 units or not. So to do this, I'm going to use a simple if statement. So I'm going to start with equals if, and then I'm going to open my bracket. Okay, now there's three sections to this if statement. Firstly, there's the logical test. So we're going to have to test something. So just be careful here. I often see people doing this, and that's not correct. Okay, you don't have to highlight the entire range here. You're just focusing on one cell at a time, because when you copy the information or when you copy the function down later, that relative cell will change as you copy the information down. Okay, so now we've selected the cell that we want to test. Now we have to test it. So we have to see whether it's more than 25 units. So greater than 25, that's our criteria. And also keep in mind that here you can also use text. So you could also say if C2 is equals to F, then they're female, otherwise they're male. So just keep in mind though that if you're using text, you're going to have to put it in quotation marks. All right, so now we've done the logical test. We're now going to put in the comma. And we're going to tell the computer what to do if this is true. So if they sold more than 25 units, I want the computer to display the word yes. Okay, and it's text that we're working with, so that's why I'm putting in the quotation marks. All right, then a comma again. What should happen if the value is false? If they didn't sell more than 25 units, then display the word no. Okay, close your brackets and press enter. Right, so now you can go. And you can just use your autofill to copy that down. And you can go and check yourself. If they haven't sold more than 25, there should be a no displayed by the if statement. Okay, another thing that you can use is called conditional formatting. So instead of using the if statement, you could go and you could highlight your range over here and then use conditional formatting. So on your Home tab, select conditional formatting, and they've got a whole bunch of built-in rules here already. So I'm going to use the greater than rule. So if it's greater than, and then I'm going to type in my criteria if it's greater than 25, and you can then select what the format should be if it's greater than 25. I'm going to select a custom format. Just want to see if it will take me there. There we go. And I'm going to make the background of those people green. Okay. And then I'm going to select OK. So there's my conditional formatting now. Don't waste your time to go fill this using the fill option or the fill color on your ribbon, because you won't get any marks for that. When we mark your questions, your conditional formatting, we highlight the range, we go to conditional formatting, and we go and we look at your rules. So we go to manage rules, and there's the rule that you've just created. In manage rules, you can edit your rule, or you can even add more rules. Okay, so that's conditional formatting. Right, and now very important, the next thing we're going to look at are some error indicators. So you kind of need to know what the error message means when you see it in Excel. Most of them aren't that difficult to understand. So let's start with this one. Okay, so firstly, we'll work our way from the top down here. If you see a whole bunch of hash signs like this next to each other, it's nothing to be worried about. It just means that your information cannot be displayed. Your cell isn't wide enough, or your column isn't wide enough. So all you need to do is make your column wider. And there the hash signs are gone, and you can get on with your life. Okay, right. But here we've got a bigger problem. It says hash value over here. So let's go and investigate. You double click on it to see what's going on here. So it's trying to multiply D7 with cell C7. Okay, let's just get that up again. Right, so C7 is a surname. You can't multiply a number with a surname. So there's a mismatch there in terms of data. So you're going to have to go and just make sure that you are actually multiplying this with the unit price over here. Okay. Right, so that's just if you're trying to add a number and normal text. That's not going to work, and that's why you got that value there. Right, then some other errors. If a number isn't valid, you'll get this error message. So let's double click on that. Let's have a look. So for instance, that's like trying to get the square root of a negative number. It can't happen. It's not possible, and that's why you'll get the error saying that the number is not valid. So to correct that, just get rid of that minus sign there. This one should be relatively obvious to you. Div 0, you've divided by 0. Okay, so let's double click on that. We've taken E2 and we've divided it by H2, and there's nothing in H2. So let's correct that. Let's divide that by H1, and now you should get an answer. Okay, now the circular reference is when you try to use that cell where you want to display your answer in the actual formula. Okay, so this is cell D12. So if I do something like this, equals D12 times, I don't know, H1. Let's do that. Okay, it's going to come up with a circular reference warning. So you can't use the cell in which you're trying to display an answer in the question. Okay, so just be aware of that. You can't really fix it. You just have to go and redo that formula to make sure that you're not using that cell there. The next error that we're going to look at is the reference error here. So let's have a look at what's going on here. Okay, so what's happened here, actually you put it in twice here, doesn't matter. If I were to do something like this, if I were to type in D2 space D1, so I've left out what I want to do, multiply, divide, I've left out the operator, then you're also going to see, that, it says null now, but it's also going to give you that reference. The other problem with this is, or when this arises, is when you delete a column. Okay, so you might have information here, and you said multiply column B with column D, and now you go and you delete column D. Then it's going to tell you the reference that you're using isn't available anymore, and then you'll see that #ref exclamation mark. Okay, right, then spelling errors. So let's have a look here. Count blanc. Okay, so we just had a look at count blank in the previous lesson, and obviously here we made a spelling error now. Okay, so the computer says, I don't know the name of this function. I can't find it in my library. It doesn't exist to me. So it will only work if you go back and you change that spelling error. Right, invalid cell reference. Let me quickly have a look here. Okay, so invalid cell reference is similar to the one that I just spoke about where you would delete one of your columns. So we've basically done that. Okay, now for the troubleshooting. Okay, so this thing isn't wide enough. Let's make it, okay, I'm not going to fiddle with it now. Let's just look at troubleshooting. So as you type in functions, Excel is automatically checking up on you anyway. So let's quickly add a function here. Let's just say equals sum. Let's highlight some information, and then I wanted to multiply it by that amount, and then I put in a bracket by accident, okay, and I press enter. The computer will tell you that it's found an error, and do you want to accept the correction proposed below? So it's trying to correct your error for you. Okay, so then you can look at what they've suggested, and you might say, yes, I was silly, I don't know why I added that extra bracket, and just say yes, and your answer will be displayed. Okay, right, now when it comes to OpenOffice, they've got the same kind of error messages. For some of those, though, they use specific codes. Okay, so instead of displaying #name exclamation mark, it will display error 502 or error 522. So here's some of those: invalid arguments. Here's your circular reference 522. And 509 is also a missing operator. So if you leave out the plus or the minus between your cell references. All right, and that concludes our lesson on more spreadsheet functions.